Okay, good morning. And when I say good morning, I mean good evening because it's evening here. I just like saying good morning, it's a good intro. Welcome to another Why Do You Think podcast. How you doing today? The show where we question everything, especially when politicians confuse the Constitution with the Ten Commandments. I'm your host, Dustin Whitey. And today we've got a triple threat of religious overreach happening right now in the U.S. I actually made a bunch of news articles here that I found that I would like to talk about a little bit, and I would love to get your input. Let me just move this over. Hold on. I gotta get things out of my way. A little bit of small talk. I've been busy. I actually went to bed so late last night and just out of being busy that I didn't have time for anything. I went to bed wide awake because I just finished running around and I got 2 hours of sleep last night. Went to work today and a massive headache right between the eyebrows. Oh, it was hurting. But I was able to go home early. I did have some vacation time. Took some nice ibuprofen, and that seems to be doing the trick. And I do apologize. I was supposed to be on last night, but it didn't happen because I was so busy. I was just like, okay, I can get this done, and then I can go live. I'll have plenty of time for that. Where did the time go? Why does it seem like the older we're getting, the less time we have? Right? I'm 40 now. I'm going to be 41 in just a couple months. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I'm like, 3 hours? 3 hours, oh my God, I can do absolutely anything. I could do everything, and you could. For some reason, there was enough time to do it. And then you reach my current age, and it's like, all right, I got to make a video. How did that take 4 hours? I worked on it nonstop. Time just goes by faster when you get older. I think there's something going on here. I know I'm not going any slower. Nice little small talk for you. All right, let's see where I started here. Give me a second. I'll try to mute myself every time I cough because I still got a cough. I think I have a sinus infection. So today we're talking about Texas. Go figure. Why? Oh, Texas is in the news about religious scrutiny. What are the odds? They're making the Ten Commandments mandatory in every public classroom. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this? I thought I heard my cat behind me. I was wrong. I heard about this actually a little while ago, and I really want to talk about this. The second thing on our list, Ohio. I mean, everybody knows Ohio is a big Bible Belt state, but it hardly ever comes up in the news unless the person you're listening to is from Ohio, right? Ohio greenlights kids to leave class for religious teaching. And I don't know what you're thinking, but what I'm thinking when I see that is, oh my God, if I was a kid and they said I could leave class for religious teaching, well, sign me up. Get me out of this class. I hate social studies. I hate science. At least I did. Now I love them. Oh, I would have done anything to get out of class. Last thing we're going to talk about here is the federal government being told to back off. This one's interesting. When it comes to raiding churches looking for immigrants. It's a holy mess. And you better believe we're diving into it. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter podcast because, well, I'm on late. I've been super busy, and today was no exception. But not before we get into these things. And if anybody wants to come in and, chat, tell their opinion, I would love to answer questions, all that kind of stuff. Let's have a podcast, okay? But until then, let's start with segment 1. The Texas Senate Bill 10. It was passed on May 8th, 2025. Of course, because let's start in Texas, right? Why not? Because when it comes to mixing faith and government, Texas is basically the deep fryer of the U.S. And we're not talking about how hot it gets there, which I hear is actually quite nice. The whole dry heat thing, I hear it as hot as it gets. It's quite pleasant. I don't know. I've never been. Always wanted to. The fryer of the U.S. Because everything ends up extra crispy with a side of fundamentalism. Oh, I actually looked up that joke. I didn't think of this one. I didn't think of that one, but I loved it. I'm like, this is going in the podcast. In Texas, everything ends up extra crispy with a side of fundamentalism. So yes, back on May 28th, 2025, the Texas legislature passed Senate Bill 10, which requires all public school classrooms to display the 10 Commandments. Hold on. I lost my place. But can you imagine, as a parent, if you are not the religious type, even if you are the religious type, my parents wouldn't have liked that. My parents were Catholic. If they saw that, I can see or hear them saying, that's not separation of church and state. They might be religious, but they're smarter than that. They're separate for a reason. But if it sounds like a clear violation of the First Amendment, it's because it probably is. School is about teaching about the world, teaching about history, teaching about science, math. God is not on the curriculum. Oh my God, I just had a thought. Back in 5th grade, the classroom, I zoned out a lot, but I can still see it in my mind's eye. How bored I was with that social studies book in front of me. I think it was called Global Studies when I was in 5th grade. And I just imagined having a Bible out. Can you imagine how the big, relatively small book, it doesn't matter if it's a big or small book, you open it, it's small text, no pictures. I would look at it, and I would zone out. I wouldn't learn a goddamn thing. I wonder if any of the students are going to be learning anything if that's what they're going to be teaching them. But critics, including the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, if that sounds familiar, and it should, because you hear them in the news, well, not the news, quite a bit. They're already preparing lawsuits. They're comparing it to a similar law in Louisiana that was struck down as unconstitutional. Louisiana already tried to do that, and they got sued, and it was struck down as unconstitutional. No. Get that shit out of there. By the way, I got the source. I sourced everything too. I got this from the Wikipedia because, of course, somebody had to jump right in and call it the Texas Senate Bill 10. Excuse me one sec. Oh, I have a cough coming. Muting. Oh, the mute button is fantastic, isn't it? So my take on this, and like I said, this is going to be a relatively small podcast. Oh, God, I've already been on for a little bit. Cool. But let me get this straight. Kids can't pray in class unless it's voluntary. You heard about that, the kids being ridiculed because they're not praying. But the government can plaster Bible verses on the wall and call it morality. That's not freedom of religion. That's state-sponsored Sunday school. I had to laugh a little bit because I just imagined all those kids. You know they're not all Christian. You know it. There's kids of so many different religious groups. If they have a religion going in there, at least their upbringing, right? Of course, you got the Christian and Catholics, but you also got the Muslim, and then you got the secular. And I did know a few people that were Hindu, a couple that were Muslim, Jewish, right? When I was a kid, I didn't pay attention to my Sunday school lessons. I didn't pay attention at all. I didn't learn anything. I just sat there completely zoned out. I almost flunked school, okay? I did not give a crap about school, but that was one of them. I didn't pay attention at all to that. In fact, the only thing I remember about Sunday school was going there, ready to fall asleep with my eyes open. Kids in the back using those sharpened pencils, throwing them at the ceiling, letting them stick because the ceiling was made of that styrofoam looking thing, right? Teachers not noticing. And the part where I woke up, I came out of my daydreaming, was my teacher. She walked up next to me. That's what woke me up. And she's going, "Oh, heaven is such a beautiful place. It's such a beautiful place." Okay, so moving on. And I'm like, heaven is a beautiful place. Heaven. I know I've heard of heaven somewhere. It sounds familiar. And me, being the socially awkward kid I was, I raised my hand. Yes. Is heaven a beautiful place? Oh, the kids laughed. The kids laughed at me about that one. It was like, imagining it now, decades later, I can imagine it sounded like I was mocking the teacher. It's such a beautiful place. It's such a beautiful place. Moving on. Yes, sir. Is heaven a beautiful place? Yeah, I can see where it sounded like I would be mocking her. Yeah, and then once the kids laughed, I went right back into my daydreaming. I did not pay attention a minute after that. That was the last thing I remember. Sunday school, in one ear, out the other. It did not even touch the brain. It wasn't even close to the brain. My brain had a freaking wall where the sound would bounce off it and go out the other end. I like to give little tangents in between stories because apparently I suck at podcasts because I come up with a bunch of stuff, give myself a minor script with cue cards and all that stuff, and I realize I get through them in like 4 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, I got plenty of stories talking about that. Oh, that reminds me of this. I can talk about that. What was I talking about? So the next segment, we're going to jump into the next one here. Ohio. The land of Buckeyes. Bad weather, and now opt-out morality. Because this is House Bill 8, dubbed the Parents, they call this the Parents' Bill of Rights. The Parents' Bill of Rights, passed earlier this year, and it is now law in Ohio. It allows parents to pull their kids from any lesson, especially lessons on, sorry, I'm drinking an energy drink, so I'm like burping here. They can pull their kids from lessons, especially on sexuality, gender identity, and anything they would just morally object to. Can you imagine science class? Biology, right? Well, these guys evolved from get my kid out of here. I don't want him learning the evolution. No, it's a theory. That's why they call it the theory of evolution, because it's not real. You ever hear that argument? What a load of crap. They call it a theory because they don't have everything down pat, right? At this point, it is a fact, but they're still learning about it. You can't call something a fact if you still have things unanswered that you're still working on. And they're coming up with new things all the time. That's why it's still a theory. It's one reason it's still a theory. The parents can send the kids off campus during school hours for religious instruction. So they can pull their kids from any lesson, especially the ones I just listed, and send them off campus during school hours for religious instruction. Now, kids, what were you hearing about in that lesson? Okay, so I'm going to have to need you to pray right now and tell God that you're sorry that you heard that, because you're bad kids. I think that's what gets me about religion more than anything. Right from birth, kids are taught that they are horrible human beings. You're horrible. Say sorry. What'd I do? You were born. You better say sorry. You're a bad person. It's so stupid. Sorry, I didn't mute myself on that one. LGBTQ plus advocates say that it's already leading to exclusion and censorship in the classroom. What are we surprised about that at all? Are we surprised about that? You knew that was happening already. Only now they're passing bills on it and laws and all that. Education officials are warning that it could turn public schools into daycare drop-offs between church services. Did I just copy-paste that one and not even freaking read that? Hold on. It made sense. No, I know I read it. It just made sense to me. Education officials are warning that it could turn public schools into daycare drop-offs between church services. So, okay, I know why I got it. So, kids going to church, doing religious activities. And when church isn't in session, because let's face it, pastors need a break. Okay. Well, I still got to go to work, so I'm going to drop you off at school, and I'll pick you up in a few hours for your next Bible freaking lesson camp thing. I got this also from Wikipedia, by the way. It's called the Ohio House Bill 8. So, we're cool with skipping school to attend Bible class. Again, if I was a kid, I would have been like, hell yeah, because you're not going from one classroom to the next. You probably got to get on a bus or walk. And that takes, a good hour at least? That's another hour out of my day in school time. Let's do it because, once school is over, I want to go home. I want to play video games. I want to ride bikes with my friends. I want to go see this girl I have a crush on who will never like me like that because I was a nerd. You're too nice, Dustin. I'm sorry. Oh. Coughing again. Muting. I was actually fine most of the day. And I start this podcast. So it's like, time to start coughing every time you get a chance, Dustin. Dom Rocks Music is here. We know who Dom Rocks is. He's here almost every stream, whether I'm playing games or doing a podcast. How you doing? I am doing well. Thank you for asking. All right. So we are talking, if you're just joining me, I've been going over some recent laws and bills and stuff that were passed or working on being passed because religious people are stupid and religious politicians are the stupidest. Right? So the first thing we talked about, actually, let me just go over I'll give you the nutshell version. Texas making the Ten Commandments mandatory in every public classroom. And the one we just finished is Ohio is greenlighting kids to leave class for religious teaching. And they call it the Parents' Bill of Rights, allows the parents to pull their kids from lessons such as sexuality, gender identity, anything they morally object to, and send them off campus during school hours for religious instruction. Nope, not the big beautiful bill. God damn it, I could have talked about that. I don't know enough about that to really talk about it. What I can tell you about it is Elon hates it. Actually, right before this stream, I did tweet to Elon, right? Because everyone knows he's an idiot. But no one thought he was really that bad of a person until he started siding with Trump. But I tweeted to him. Actually, I'll read you the tweet right now. It doesn't look like anybody responded to it. So I go real quick. I don't post political much anymore, but Elon Musk tagged. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of you. But seriously, what did you expect? You should have known he'd abandon you the first chance he wasn't using you anymore. I'm being sincere. I'm not trying to be insulting in this post. Right? That wasn't insulting. That probably could have been borderline insulting, but that wasn't insulting. That was somebody going, come on, dude. You really didn't see that coming? Yeah, that's... Again, I don't know enough about it to really talk about it. Just that Elon did not like it. And when Elon complained about it, Trump goes, sucks to be you. He didn't say it like that, but I'm paraphrasing big time. And then Elon's like, well, screw you too. And Trump's like, remember when we were friends? And Elon's like, yeah, until you screwed me over. In fact, I kind of want to create my own political party. I think that was said today. I don't know how true it is. I heard it from a TikTok, somebody talking about it, that Elon suggested making his own political party. Yeah, there was bound to be a breakup at some point. Absolutely. By the way, I like how you misspelled break. B-E-R-A-K. It almost sounded like you were being exaggerant on it. There was bound to be a breakup at some point. I love it. Okay. And you're right. Everyone saw it coming. Everyone saw it coming that they were going to break up. They are very different people. It sounded like a Norse name. They are very different people, right? I'm not 100% sure that Elon is a narcissist. We know Trump is. I'm not 100% sure. We know Elon is on the spectrum. And a little bit more than, like, say, the normal person who would say, yeah, I'm on the spectrum. You could tell. You could tell. Again, I'm not being insulting. I'm saying maybe things don't register the same way, the same exact way as me. Okay, I'll just say me because I think anything else I say might be misconstrued somewhere. I think he's an idiot, but I'm not sure he's a narcissist. You can find a smart person, a real smart person, right? They could have a PhD, a doctorate, right? They could be a doctor, a family doctor, a surgeon, and many different freaking classifications, but still be an idiot. Right? It's wild that the 200 bill or whatever, but he still has to try hard to present a certain image. Oh, he has $200 billion or whatever. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. But he still has to try so hard to present a certain image. I mean, some people are addicted to views, right? We know Trump's addicted to views. Narcissist or not, he loves the views. But he gets offended if anybody trash talks him. That's why he doesn't do TikTok on a normal basis. So we're cool with skipping, this is what I wrote down here. We're cool with skipping school to attend Bible class now. But what's next? Giving kids class credit for turning water into wine? You know, that was funnier in my head. I thought it was funny when I was typing it out. I'm like, yeah, that's a good one. And then I said it out loud, and I'm like, Dustin, you got to start saying these things out loud before you say them in a podcast. Just teach the Bible in school, then you won't have to skip it. I guess, but again, the kid in me would be like, I get to leave class? Well, it's going to take me at least an hour to go to Bible school. How long are kids in school for? Is it 8 a.m. to like 2? To 8? Oh my God. That's 6 hours of the day, right? 6 or 7 hours, depending on what you're doing. Jeez. Yeah, 1 hour makes a huge difference. Yeah, I would be, if I was a kid, I'd be all for it. I'm like, it's going to take me at least an hour to go from school to my Bible lesson. Because you got to walk to the bus. The bus has to make sure it's all set to go. Then the bus drives. And then eventually, when it gets there, assuming it doesn't hit all the red lights, you unload all the kids. The kids stand in one spot until the teacher comes and grabs them. The teacher comes and grabs them, brings them into the classroom. The kids take a minute to get settled down and are being rambunctious until finally the teacher calms them down. A good hour would go by. So the last segment I'm going to talk about here, again, this is going to be a really short podcast unless something really big happens where somebody wants to come in and really start asking questions that we can talk about. But it's already getting late. I did start this late. Excuse me. Losing my voice a little bit. I apologize for that. And I went to bed. I only got 2 hours of sleep last night. I still got to eat before I go to bed tonight. I got to be up at 5 in the morning for work. So this one's interesting, though. I saved this one for last. Segment 3. ICE raids blocked in churches. I don't know if you heard about this, but I certainly did not. This is in February of 2025, ruling from a judge. It's good news. I mean, it's got layers and kind of cloudy, but it's good news. In February 2025, a federal judge blocked immigration enforcement operations from entering churches and places of worship without extreme justification. Apparently, they need to have extreme justification. You know, they have to know who they're going for and why they're going for, all that kind of stuff. Probably a warrant, I'm guessing. The ruling came in response to Trump's era politics. To a Trump-era policy that empowered ICE to detain undocumented immigrants inside religious spaces. The guy's religious, but churches are not home base anymore. They're no longer a sanctuary, at least according to Trump. But a judge said, no, that's a First Amendment thing. He was saying that these raids interfere with religious practice, which is protected, and sacred spaces. Why am I losing my voice so much? I can yell at the computer, at the camera, playing a video game and I don't lose my voice. I'm losing my voice whenever I have these stupid podcasts. It's not a stupid podcast. It's a smart podcast. But I still lose my voice to them. But I got that one from the New York Post. They titled it ICE Raids Blocked. How cool is that? Humanists and churches actually working together a little bit to help undocumented immigrants. I have said many, many times that church, or at least religion, isn't all bad. It's the teachings that are bad because it's all bullshit. But there are good people in there. And if they're doing what they can to keep these people safe, you ain't going to hear a word out of me. Nope. We're cool. All right? You want to come hang out, have a beer? You're invited. Just keep God out of my house. You ever do a religion tear test? I have not. How would that work? Actually, nope. I can already see how that would work. That might be a good thing for my next podcast on Saturday, by the way, for anybody listening. I do it every Wednesday. I know it's Thursday. And Saturday. On Saturday, we do it at 5:30. On Wednesday, it's usually around between 6 and 7. I started this one late. Again, was busy. Sorry. I can see that being a pro and con thing. Because, yeah, I'm running it through my head now. This is a brilliant idea. Give me 2 seconds here. I'm going to make a note here. Reminder for Saturday to make a tier, making sure I'm spelling it right, list for religions. Yeah, it's good. I think that's going to be a good one, especially with Black Tony Stark. Yeah, that'll be a good one. All right. Yes, the judge cited the First Amendment, saying that these raids interfered with religious practice and sacred spaces. Thank you, Judge. Protecting religious freedom. I hate religion. I will deconvert anybody. But I will fight for your right to have religious freedom. It was one of the whole points to this country. Make that a clip. So, we're banning ICE from kicking down doors in churches, but also forcing classrooms to hang up Bible quotes, 10 Commandments, and allowing parents to just take kids out of school, you know, the thing that's important, to send them to Sunday school. Either religion is sacred or it's state policy, but you can't have it both ways. America. Yes, Dom, I very much appreciate that suggestion. That's a really, really good idea. So look, this isn't really about hating religion. I hate religion, but that's not what this is about, okay? That's not what this channel's about. It's about keeping the government out of your belief system. At least that's what this episode is about. Whatever that may be. And if you think this is all harmless tradition, think again. Once the state starts I type it out and I still can't say it right. Once the state starts picking which faith to promote, yours might be next. Or they'll enhance it, right? There's a lot of people who are religious. They are religious. But if we keep pushing it, going to make it illegal to not be in church. Remember it used to be like that at one point? It was a long time ago now, but it was like, if you weren't in church, yeah, you better be very sick or dying because you're about to be arrested. And then tortured because that's what they did, trying to prove that you were a witch. Remember all that? Yeah, like I said, this is kind of a really short. I wish I didn't start this so late, but I got everything else done, and I still made the podcast. If we get more people in, feel free to think of things to ask me to talk about. I want to talk about what you want to talk about. Bring up something. And Dom, you know that. You brought up the big, beautiful bill. We spent a good 5-10 minutes on that. And Elon Musk. Yeah, that was a... I appreciate that. I'm being silent for a second here because I'm just looking over my notes to make sure I didn't skip anything. I need to eat. My stomach hurts because I'm so hungry. I made sure I ate a few cookies before I started this thing, but I have a very high metabolism. That's why I'm so skinny and I can eat an entire cake and a 6-pack of beer or soda and not gain a pound. Actually, I am starting to gain a little bit now, but I just have to get back to working out. I'll be fine. So I hope you don't mind, Dom. Anybody else listening, I hope you don't mind. I'm cutting this very short. Thanks for tuning in to Why Do You Think? Feel free to hit that like button if you're on YouTube, subscribe if you're on YouTube or Twitch, or hit that follow button if you're on Twitch, because I'm streaming to both. Do me a favor, drop a comment with your thoughts on any of which I talked about. You could agree with me, you can disagree with me, give your own opinion. I want to hear it. Or give me your prayers, because those are entertaining to read. Whichever. Just don't expect me to say amen. I mean, I might say it ironically, because I've been known to do that. So thank you guys so much for watching. And I've been posting every day to my YDU Games channel. I just started 2 new games, and I am hooked. I don't want to skip a day with the YDU Games. And if you don't know where YDU Games is, I'm going to post it in the chat right now. So you can reach me at... Oh, crap, I just screwed up. www.youtube.com/YDU, kind of like Dustin YDU, Games. Boom. If anyone's interested, I've been posting every day right there to that YouTube. You can search for it. I was able to find it. Just, hit the search button, YDU, for you do you, space, games. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you missed any podcast episodes and you would like to hear them, if you're on Twitch, you can find them on my YouTube at YDU Think. That's youtube.com/@YDU Think. Or you could just search for it. I was able to find it. YDU space Think. Found it. No problem. And I'm going to stop it now. I feel bad for ending this so soon. Love you guys. Have a good rest of your day.